Michael Popok, Legal AF. Matt Gaetz, House member from Florida, is in the news again for all the wrong reasons. Remember that sex trafficking, obstruction of justice prosecution that was started by the Department of Justice as part of an investigation by Bill Barr, Donald Trump's attorney general, back in 2020? Well, that sort of petered out in 2023 when the Democrats took over and no charges were brought against Matt Gaetz. However, there were charges brought against one of his wingmen concerning sex with an underage minor and paying her and trafficking an underage minor for sex and all of that. So the wingman went to jail. That's Joel Greenberg, former Seminole County, Florida tax assessor. But Matt Gaetz escaped any type of prosecution. But separate and apart from the Department of Justice, there's a little thing known as the House Ethics Committee, and it's exactly what you think. Now, that one is a very unique committee because it's comprised of 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats. So there's no party issues, right? They have been continuing their investigation, even though the Department of Justice, for criminal side, has decided to walk away from prosecuting Matt Gaetz. That doesn't mean he's out of the woods yet with the Ethics Committee for the place where he does his work, which is the House of Representatives. And that organization, that Ethics Committee, has decided and is ramping up its investigation of Matt Gaetz by reaching out, this is the reporting, to the alleged victim, who was a minor, a 17-year-old minor girl, at the time that Matt Gaetz is alleged to have had sex with her, and brought her out of the country, I think to the Caribbean, in order to ply her with, this is the allegations, drugs and alcohol, and have sex with her. The Ethics Committee has not only continued its investigation, but it has now reached out, the reporting is, to this, what was once a girl and now an adult, but the minor victim of Matt Gaetz's sexual attack, and has reached out to the Department of Justice, or what Donald Trump likes to refer to as Biden's Department of Justice, in order to try to voluntarily obtain from the Department of Justice their investigative files related to Matt Gaetz. Okay, I'm going to break it all down for you, including the political component of it, which is Matt Gaetz to this day believes that this is a conspiracy against him started by ousted Speaker Kevin McCarthy, ousted in part by Matt Gaetz. Let me tie it all together. The original investigation based on complaints by the victim were brought by the Department of Justice in 2020. That was under Bill Barr, therefore under Donald Trump. That led to Matt Gaetz escaping ultimate prosecution and ultimate charges being brought against him. But his wingman and the person that he partied with and went away on trips, including with the then 17-year-old girl, was convicted of 6 felony counts, including of sex with a minor and sex trafficking and that type of thing, and obstruction. Somehow Matt Gaetz escaped any type of prosecution after a 3-year investigation. The Ethics Committee, however, continued because it's a different standard. You know, at the criminal level, it's can they prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt? And I assume based on interviews and even Greenberg testifying against Matt Gaetz, they didn't think they had what they needed in order to obtain go to the grand jury and obtain the indictment and or conviction. And that's prosecutorial discretion. But the Ethics Committee operates on a different standard. You know, whether the House member committed a violation of ethics and therefore should be removed from his office. Now, that's a recommendation from the Ethics Committee that ultimately goes to the full House. The chances of the full House, even on a recommendation of these 10 members, 5 Republican and 5 Democrats, ousting Matt Gaetz is probably low. But let's not put the cart before the horse. Let the Ethics Committee do their job. And so now it has reached the point where they have reached out to the Department of Justice. Now, they haven't issued a subpoena to the Department of Justice. They've asked for a voluntary turnover of the documents in the Department of Justice's files. Now, normally, the Department of Justice, you know, it's voluntary. They don't have to cooperate with the Ethics Committee. But I could see a world where the Biden Department of Justice decides to cooperate with the House Ethics Committee and turns over everything they got on Matt Gaetz, maybe except for the most highly sensitive information. I mean, they already have a deal in place with Greenberg, Joel Greenberg, to testify, and I assume testify against Matt Gaetz, and there might be witness statements by Joel Greenberg as part of his plea deal. You know, he got a lesser sentence even though he went to jail. So if they don't, the question is, can the House Committee on Ethics subpoena the Department of Justice? They can. It'll go through a court system, the DC courts, federal courts, and a judge will have to decide how much of that file will get turned over to the Ethics Committee. But the fact that they are now reaching out to multiple, as reported by Politico and other outlets, that they're reaching out to multiple witnesses, including the alleged victim, I assume they'll try to reach out and speak to Joel Greenberg, even though he's in jail, and there's a way to do that as well, and trying to get the Department of Justice file. That is not great news for Matt Gaetz. PrizePicks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season, and now I can play during basketball season too. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James plus Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3 points made and receptions. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Testing my skills on PrizePicks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. PrizePicks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Each week since the start of the football season, I've had an absolute blast putting my skills to the test and competing in not just football, but all the daily fantasy sports PrizePicks has to offer. It truly is such a blast putting my skills to the test. Go to prizepicks.com/legalaf and use code LegalAF for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/legalaf and use code LegalAF for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Now, Matt Gaetz continues to blame McCarthy. And McCarthy even said at the time that he was ousted from being a speaker, that one of the reasons he was ousted is that Matt Gaetz was trying to cover up his potential ethics violations and crimes and wanted to see McCarthy gone. And in fact, the quote at the time by McCarthy was as follows. When 7 of the right-wing MAGA moved against him, he said, "I don't believe them to be conservatives. It's driven by Gaetz, and it was all based upon an ethics complaint that happened in the last Congress." That's the one that I'm talking about here on this hot take. He, McCarthy, referring to Gaetz, would throw his country away to try to protect himself for what could come out as the truth. That's the ethics investigation about the sex with a minor as alleged. And so this is that tangled world of law, politics, and justice that we sort of focus on and major on Legal AF on the MeidasTouch network. And we bring this news to you so that you understand at least what the Ethics Committee is currently doing. And then I'll walk through with you who the Ethics Committee members are and then what I think happens next. The Ethics Committee members, this is one of those unique committees, as I said earlier in the hot take, that is not dominated by a Republican. There's no majority. It's 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats. The chairperson is a Republican because they're in the majority, but they all have equal votes. So the chairman or the ranking members of the Republican side of the committee are Michael Guest, who chairs the committee from Mississippi, David Joyce of Ohio, John Rutherford of Florida, Andrew Garbarino of New York, and Michelle Fischbach of Minnesota. On the Democrat side, the ranking member is Susan Wild of Pennsylvania, Veronica Escobar of Texas, Mark Desaulnier of California, Deborah K. Ross of North Carolina, and Glenn F. Ivey of Maryland. And so that's the group that's doing their work. Now, They'll prepare a report. Let's say in the next 3 to 6 months, they conclude that Matt Gaetz committed ethics violations, lied to the committee, has conduct unbecoming a member of the House, and should be impeached. That'll be a report that gets turned over to the Speaker of the House, whoever the Speaker of the House is at that moment. I have to check my watch to see who the Republicans still have in there. Could be the current guy, who knows, or that person could be removed by that point. And then they decide whether they're going to put it to a floor vote. And at the current moment, of course, in the next until November, the Republicans are barely in the majority in the House, but they are in the majority. And so they'd have to vote on it. And Gaetz seems to be reasonably well respected among at least the right-wing MAGA conservatives of the caucus there. And so the chances of him being voted out, even if all the Democrats vote to oust him, he's not going to get enough votes against him in the Republican side for that to happen. But I think it's important from politics and justice and law that the committee, and I'm pleasantly surprised that the committee is continuing to do its work. I'm sure it's because it's evenly split, Democrat, Republican, and there's no way to stop it. And they take their job seriously as a committee member. And I think it's important. I mean, we can poo-poo it and say, oh, well, it won't lead to anywhere, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. And it shouldn't be addressed by the ethics committee. So we'll continue to follow what happens with Matt Gaetz and the allegations that he had sex with a minor, used illegal drugs, showed pornography on the House floor, and all the rest of the things that are in the ethics charge. One place, Legal AF and the MeidasTouch network. And on Wednesdays and Saturdays, tune in for our full podcast. It's at the intersection of law, politics, and justice. It's 8 p.m. Wednesdays and Saturdays Eastern Time on this YouTube channel. And then you can pick us up on audio podcast platforms of your choice. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Thanks so much for watching. We're only a few subscribers short of 2 million subs. Please subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for free and help us grow this unapologetically pro-democracy network.